region through Obolo, which was the best thing that could ever happen because it gave me another perspective completely on Creole languages. Because I learned, the first Creole language that I learned in my life was through an African language. So this was the gift that she gave me from the start. So I'm always grateful to her for that, but for so many other things as well. Because we have to understand what K. Williamson's generation represented in terms of African linguistics. We have to understand that up until 1960, you know, only 50 years ago, this was the classification of African languages. Okay, next one. Next one. That. Okay, this was the official scientific classification of African languages in 1960. This is what she was up against, okay? They were still going back to condemned tribes of Israel, Shem's tribe and Ham's tribe, and then of course, when you get, by the time you get to Sudanic, it's not even part of the nations of Israel, and then when you get to the bottom, of course, as John said yesterday, that's the bottom of the levels of very racialized groupings of languages. So this is what her generation came into linguistics facing. So if we can just go up one, please. Okay. So her contribution to this, okay, down. Yes, okay. So a member of her generation of Africanists was Greenberg. What Greenberg did in 1963 was he attempted to do a more scientific classification of African languages. But it was an uphill battle because these classifications were very much entrenched among people who studied African languages. And so he did a mass comparison of languages, as I explained yesterday in the mini course, and he put them into 5 families: Khoisan, Niger, Congo, Nilo-Sahara, Ghana, and Togo, and Benin Republic. Okay, the account languages Congolese in there too, okay, Yoruba, Edo, Nupe, Idoma, Igbo, all of the Middle Belt languages, cross-river languages like African Ibibio, and the Bantoid languages, including those languages found in Cameroon that are called Bantoid languages, and Bantu. They're all part of the same sub-branch, very closely related. We're not talking about typological relationships here, which exist as well between these languages, but genetic relationships. Okay, and this, of course, has a very big impact on the way that we do Creolistics, because the discourse, the dominant discourse in Creolistics, often repeats this idea or replicates this idea of this, overestimates the diversity among the states, the linguistic diversity. So we've relied too heavily in the past on these distinctions between African languages that are no longer accepted by Africans themselves. Most of the Africans involved in the Eastern and Western diasporas, we're not just talking about the diaspora to the Afro-Atlantic, but also the diaspora to the Indo-Pacific, okay? Because that mainly came from Bantu areas as well, okay? Come from the same sub-branch of Niger-Congo. And of course, if you start to look at these languages as a Sprachbund, or a typological genetic group, then that opens more doors for considering African agency at more levels. Okay, so basically, the message here is that Kay Williamson is with us today in Sao Paulo, but she speaks to us. And basically, when we argue for more agency on the part of Africans and African-descended peoples, it's really Kay Williamson speaking to us, but if she'd have done it in a much more reasonable way and a much humbler way than I do it, at least. I think Silvia learned more of that humbleness and raison from her. I tend to do it in a more maybe Greek and Greek and Roma way. But in any case, basically, she always wanted to come to Brazil. She made it to Brazil. She didn't make it to Sao Paulo physically, but she made it to Sao Paulo through us. And we are making a recording of this, and we're hoping to send it to all of those people all of those linguists and others in Nigeria and around the world who can proudly say and have the privilege to say, as I can, that they, as I, were one of her students.
Thank you.